Welcome to the Rising Coaches Conference. My name is Matt Gordon. I'm the head of Rising Coaches Consulting. Welcome this morning. We're going to have a panel discussion on the value of mentorship, and we'll start off with Coach Prunty. Asking for help is not easy, as people, especially coaches, think they can do everything. How has mentorship helped you, and how hard was it to find help when you were first starting out in the business?
Mentorship is extremely valuable in regards to, me, and actually even in this program, talking to different people, because it gives you a different insight that you might not have thought about, gives you a perspective or experiences, because you're able to talk to somebody who gives you things that you're not either something that you have not experienced or something that you're not thinking of. I know for me, I had some people that I confided in a lot early on in my career. And I think one of the things that was interesting was, one of my good coaching mentors expressed a lot like he would give me rhetorical questions, things that would just make me think. And it was really helpful. And then he would provide some answers to things that were, I would say they were outside the box thoughts sometimes. But what was interesting was actually in a case where I went to see somebody as a mentor, in terms of they had helped me before in the past, and I had a really difficult decision to make. And I asked a lot of questions, and ultimately their answer came back to, Joe, I'm not going to give you the answer. And it sort of took me back, because I never felt like I was asking for the answer. I was asking for some insight into things that maybe I didn't think of. And what I realized was, in a roundabout way, what he was telling me was, I don't want to be responsible for the decisions that are made impacting your career or your decision or your, coaching right now. And it somewhat bothered me at the time, because I wasn't asking for that. I wasn't asking to place blame on something that may or may not happen. I was looking for help. I was looking for advice. I was looking for a mentor to just give me some insight into something that I may not have thought of, because I had never been through that experience before. And so it was, for me, very impactful, because it was a way of, that's not how I would handle it. I would let somebody know, here's some thoughts, here's some things to think about. Yes, you have to make the decision, but here are some ways to approach it. And it made me realize the value of mentorship early on in my coaching career. Like, where do you go to talk to people, and how can you help somebody out? Because sometimes, as I've grown in coaching, I've also seen the other side of it, where people become self-absorbed and they aren't as readily helpful. And so having a mentor, or people that you can trust, confide in, that will give you insight, that may not give you the exact answer, but lead you in the direction that helps you find the answer, is so critical.
No, that's really good. They really changed the way you kind of have to think about things, because obviously we get so caught up in our day-to-day and inside the program or inside our own lives. We're blinded to a lot of things and answers out there, just the way to think differently, especially in our business of coaching. So I know that's probably influential to you. And I know you worked for probably one of the better mentors with the Spurs for a long time, and Coach Pop. Just tell us a little maybe about that experience with him, and how he kind of guides people, players, coaches, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. And one of the things with him that is amazing is that he makes you, without even telling you, he just makes you be prepared. He always wants you to come in to a meeting, and meetings could be planned or unplanned. It could just be, you might be at dinner and all of a sudden the topic comes up, whatever the topic is that needs to be discussed. But he always wanted you to be prepared. It could be completely outside the box, but have a point, defend it, be open to other ideas. But if you have a thoughtful concept that is well thought out, like I said, I mean, it's not just throwing something out off the cuff, then he would appreciate it, accept it, allow it to be debated. And there was a level of respect no matter who you were. And I appreciated that from him. And I think, even going, that was the first coach that I was with in the NBA. And even coming to the second to last coach that I've been with in Jason Kidd, one of the things he talked about is, don't be afraid to make decisions. Don't be afraid to put things out there. Don't be afraid to, try different things. He said that's what he has seen a lot through his playing career and early in his coaching, is that people were afraid to do things. And you have to have ideas, and you have to take chances or opportunities, like especially in playoff series. You can, that was another thing with Pop and even with Jason and all the coaches I've been with. When you're in the playoffs, you have to be willing to try different things, especially after a big loss or when you're down in a series. So it was invaluable for me with Pop, for sure.
That's great. That's awesome. That's great insight on many levels of mentorship. Really appreciate it. Coach Prunty was spent, just so you guys know, spent 23 years in the NBA, coached high school before that, and has a lot of unbelievable insight in terms of all levels of basketball, and is a great asset so far to our program here at Rising Coaches Consulting. Next question we have is kind of piggybacks on our last one for Coach Ellis. What is the value of having an outside opinion or having someone to share ideas with that's outside your program to really help yourself as a coach and your program team as a whole?
I think it's very valuable, for one, just to have a growth mindset. Unfortunately, I've seen coaches where the ego kind of takes over them. But one of my mentors is Bill Duffy. He was my agent as a player, and he's a strong believer, and so am I. And with that being said, like we take on a servant's mentality. Like coaches serve. That's the core of who we are. We serve and lead. And so for me, it's very easy for me to ask for help because I know that I don't know, right? And I try to instill that same ideas in my staff and my players, that it's okay that if you don't know. The problem is if you refuse to take that challenge of learning. And so asking for outside help, I absolutely welcome it. In fact, I invited Mike Bibby to spend some time with me this past season, and I just gave him the guards. I didn't care what he was saying. He has a passion to coach, and I trusted him. And I did, ironically, he was saying the exact same thing I was saying, but the guys, they accepted it. And I understand why. It's Mike Bibby, so I get it. But having that, not having an ego as a coach has done wonders for me. So I embrace, if you're a high school coach, come on, let's coach. If you're a college coach, I don't care. Quick story, I was in Santa Barbara early in my career working out some pre-draft guys. And right behind me was Tim Gergovich. And I love Tim. Tim is like a legend in this business. But he paused my workout and just praised me for what I was doing. And it meant the world to me. To me, he's like on the Mount Rushmore of coaches in this league of what he's done. And I was trying to give him praise, and he stopped me. He said, man, we're coaches. I'm just a little bit older. And when he said that, it really resonated with me. And so that's my mentality. Like, coaches are coaches, but it doesn't matter which level of coaching you're coaching at. Let's talk basketball. And if anybody can help my players, I'm 100% with it.
That's great. You mentioned the key word, ego. In this business, ego kind of gets in the way of a lot of people. And the people that are allowed to are willing to just let it go and not let it get in the way, usually take the mentorship, the coaching for themselves a lot better. And it really helps their players more than people that are just going to be like, I'm going to do it my way, and that's the way it's going to be. And that's kind of some unfortunate that there's a lot of people in our business that way. But for the people that are willing to have people help them, it's a huge advantage, I think.
100%. Ideally, it's not about X's and O's. Everybody knows that. Every coach has their best plays and all those types of things. It's about the people, right? And if you're willing to learn how to how to lead leaders, like you don't know. Every great leader had somebody that taught them how to lead. And so with that with that mindset, like I'm eagerly chasing knowledge of how to be a more effective leader of men and women. Therefore, and then that stuff will eventually spill over to the basketball court.
No, that's great. And that kind of takes me to my next question for Coach Heather Macy, the new head coach at Greensboro College. Coaches as leaders should be leading by their actions. And we always say that as coaches. For example, would their message about being coachable be better received if they were receiving mentorship and were sharing that they also needed coaching with their players? So they were letting their players know, I'm being coached. I'm in it. I'm about it. You should be too.
Well, Matt, for me, it's a lot about why would you hire a personal trainer? Okay, so you've got these fitness goals, and so you go buy a $10 membership at the Planet Fitness, and you're going to get $10 results out of that. Whereas if you go, hey, no, I'm really serious about my fitness. I'm getting a little bit older. As coaches, we've got to stay fit. We have got to stay to where our bodies feel good after the training. So investing in a personal trainer is a smart investment to extend your career. And I think it's the same with mentorships and with coaching. Every coach needs a coach. So for us to be able to say, I have a coach that coaches me, just like I'm coming into the practice and coaching you guys, because ultimately what we want to do is we know we're going to make mistakes. How quickly can we recognize the mistakes? And then how quickly can we adjust and adapt to that? Adam, you got something smart to say about the Planet Fitness? I wish that I could talk.
I was just saying I definitely have
that kind of stuff.
I have a Planet Fitness membership, which is probably why I'm in terrible shape. So it finally explains.
And listen, and Planet Fitness, I'm not criticizing you, right? We need sponsorships for the podcast. So anyway, just the point being is I think that for us coaches, I was a head coach at 26 years old. If something like this was available at that time, it would have been a game changer for me. That's part of why I have so much passion right now for helping the coaches that I'm able to work with, because I'm just telling them the truth. I don't know if I have all the answers, but I know I've made enough mistakes to have a bunch of the answers. And so, and in this industry, to have a platform of folks that you can talk with and spend time with that's confidential, to me is like the biggest advantage. Because the majority of this business, if you haven't already understood, if you tell one person, you might as well have told 100 of their closest friends what's going on in your program. And, you know, I had that happen looking at a different job opportunity and thinking I was just kind of throwing it off of a couple people, bouncing it off. What ideas did you have? Well, that turns out that, you know, they're more concerned about who's getting my job. And so you have to know that, do you have a circle of people that can help you? And then the confidentiality of the mentorship, you know, I just think it's a first-class thing, and that this is what we're offering, but it's the same as hiring a personal trainer, guys. If you're really serious about it, you really want to be good about it, then get some coaching in it.
No, that's really important. And I think to be a great leader, you have to have action. And I think if you're doing that, then your players will be more susceptible to learning and being more coachable themselves, because they see your vulnerability and they see that you're doing it. So they're most likely be more willing to take that coachability when you're teaching them life skills or basketball skills. No, that's great. It's good stuff. Coach Jacobs, next one's for you. For people just entering the business or support staff, how can mentorship be of value to them? And what do you wish you knew now when you were first entering the industry, and how it could have helped you? Coach, you got to get off of mute. I'll unmute you. Coach, hold on one second. It's all right. We'll edit it out. Why are we still on mute here? Adam, can you unmute him?
I think he has to do it. There we go.
There we go. Go ahead. Good.
Good. Yes, I think mentoring when you first get into business is so important because you're so green, when you come in. When I first became a college head coach, I was very fortunate to have to work under a gentleman named Tom Barise, who was at the time, a scout with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And me being, a young assistant and coming in, being so gung-ho, I thought I knew everything. In actuality, I didn't, in regards to how to run a program and how to navigate in the profession as well. It's so important to understand exactly what your job description is as well. Coming in, I had no idea what the job description. Once I got in, I was able to begin to understand the business itself. So when you first come into business, it's good to have a mentor to really begin to understand exactly what you're getting into, as well. And some of the things that is real important when you first come in and having a mentor is really, really to really pay attention. The 3 L's always say, look, listen, and learn, more so than you talk. You got 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you should listen twice as much as you speak as well, with that. But on the other side of it, one of the things that were very important to me, and one of the things I wish if I could do over again, was really pay attention and really listen. Even though I was a student of the game, I didn't really listen as much as I should have because I knew everything. But having that mentor, particularly him in his case, really humbled me and really kept me grounded. And the honesty was very important. And I think that's very important when you have a mentor. The authenticity and the honesty was very, very important to have that as well. And also let you know your shortcomings as a coach, learning how to communicate, just learning the business overall was so important that I didn't know when I was a young coach coming in. So having a mentor when you first come in is so important because it gives you the foundation that you're going to need to go forward.
That's great. Coach, another question for you. Explain the value of a mentor and how they can help kind of in your networking, because networking in this business is huge for many things, whether it's recruiting in college, whether it's moving up in the industry, whether it's just knowing more people to have other people to connect with. So explain how mentoring can really help us or help somebody in their networking.
Well, I think that's very key in this business. Networking is very key to your mobility and being able to advance in this business of coaching. It's so important that having that network and growing that network, particularly with your mentor, because your mentor is going to know people as well. And he or she is going to be able to direct you in a direction where you're going to meet other people in that regards, not just from a mobility standpoint, but a coaching standpoint as well. Coaching development, whether it's your on the field or on the court aspirations or just growing and being the best at your job, learning how to talk to coaches and head coaches in particulars, or, athletic directors or wherever the case may be, you're going as well. If you're trying to make a lateral move, as well, if you want to make a lateral move, they can give you advice on a lateral move or staying at your current job and doing it better. That was so important in particular when you're first coming into the business, as well as growing your network.
That's great. Question for Coach Joe. How do you continue to grow as a coach and become more well-rounded when you really don't know what is coming? So how would a mentor help you in that regard?
Well, it depends on the experiences of the mentor, but they're going to tell you the things that they've been through and how it's impacted them. So, you talk about the next level, and I assume, I agree with Ty, coaching is coaching. I remember one of my first days getting to San Antonio, and the first few drills that I saw guys doing, I was thinking to myself, well, those are drills we just did with the high school I was at Uni High School in San Diego. And the difference was, this is one of the 50 greatest players to ever play the game, as opposed to the high school kids who were actually very good. I mean, it was like Nate Walton, who plays at Princeton. His brother now, obviously Luke played in the NBA, so we had good players, but the drills weren't that much different. In fact, the first few drills, as I said, were the same thing. And so basketball is basketball. And as a coach, and again, this gets back to what multiple people have said here, started with Ty, and Daryl mentioned it as well. Heather too, it's the idea that it's the relationships. Your relationships are what helps you be able to communicate with people, be able to grow yourself. And so coaching at the next level is sometimes just taking a step back, seeing what's taking place. And then when the opportunity comes to interject yourself or questions are asked of you, then you present your ideas or your concepts and be prepared for them to be questioned, because that helps you grow. Like if you go out and like sometimes missing something or getting something wrong actually helps you learn more than getting it right. Because sometimes that's not always the right answer, or doing something the same way every time isn't always the right answer. And you have to be, obviously we're judged on wins and losses a lot of times, but I think you have to have different options for doing different, approaching similar concepts or similar ideas. It's like playing pick and roll. One pick and roll defense isn't going to stop every player. That the great players see it, they adjust. And so preparing for the next level, I think a lot of people have done it. There's been more, you go to clinics, you go to coaching, not only coaching clinics, but when there's speaking engagements, and you listen to coaches talk, and you talk to your mentors, the people that can help you, that have been there and done that. And again, they're just giving you the idea. It's not a one size fits all. And I mean, again, and I'll finish this real quick, but like with Ty, Bill Duffy is an unbelievable person. Like that's the thing, like with David Robinson, like you think David Robinson's one of the 50 greatest basketball players. He's one of the 50 greatest people you'd ever want to meet. The lives he's impacted, the things he's done for people of all ages, the life he's led off the basketball court. It's kind of like what Kobe was embarking on. Kobe was about to do things that were going to impact so many more people than he did with basketball. Basketball just happened to be the platform. Bill Duffy's the same way. I mean, one of the things I remember with Bill is there was an incident where things didn't go right with the client, and he knew it didn't go the right way. He's taken care of that guy ever since. And no one knows about that, but it's the character of the person. And so again, I know I've rambled a little bit here, but I think getting to the next level, you're always preparing for that, because basketball is basketball, but the relationships are what help kind of sustain it.
That's great. That's great. Piggyback on that, Ty, you can probably answer this one for us. What leadership quality did you learn from a former coach or mentor that you wish you had attained earlier in your career that has helped you probably the most as a head coach now?
Piggybacking on what Joe said, like, be great at where you at. That was the best advice that my dad told me, coming from Dallas Carter, which is a prominent high school in Dallas where guys typically go to major D1s. I went to an NAIA school. And I wasn't worried about playing pro ball. I was focusing on being great as a freshman. And then when my sophomore year came, I was focused on being great as a sophomore. And I put together enough years where I finished with my master's degree. I'm getting professional looks. And so I've always been that kid to be focused on where I'm at. And that just matured into my coaching. So I didn't have the big name growing up, or all the opportunities. I kind of just focused on being the best Ty I can be today. And that kind of worked for me. And so, in this business, that was the main thing Bill told me. I'm trying to meet people. He said, no, if you just focus, and your gift is speaking, your gift is coaching. And if you embrace your gift, people will come to you. And that's what I kind of focus on. I don't really worry about the next opportunity. because I'm focused on where I'm at now. So that was kind of, I really didn't have to go through any ups and downs regarding that. Now, the business itself is kind of volatile. You know, you have your ego, you have your selfishness from different people. Learning that side of the business has been difficult at times, but I'm learning from it. You know, I'm learning that everybody don't care about you the way you care about them. You know, and so those types of things I kind of throw at Bill and other people that are in my life. But as far as work ethic and ascending, I'm really just focused on being the best Ty I can be today.
That's great. Coach Macy, you got last question of the day. What are the pros and cons of having a mentor in your program, i.e. your head coach or an assistant coach to a manager or a GA, versus outside of the program, i.e. like our Rising Coaches mentorship program?
Well, first, I think when you have it internally within your program, then we're also looking at the ability to take our eyes off ourselves and care about other people. I think it's promoting the culture that you want. That head coach invested in the assistant coaches to where it's clear, like, I want you to grow and mature and be ready to be a head coach when the opportunity comes. And the same with the assistants relative to the GAs or whomever that works. I just think that is a care level. And when you have people in your program that they never felt like they're held back, that everyone feels like that they keep growing and growing and growing, then you're going to have longevity, and then you're going to have more retention within your program. And we all know that's going to equal more success. But the worst is when someone feels like that they're not growing, and specifically not growing within your structure and within your program. Now, the outside of that, I think you need a sounding board that is not in your office, that is not in the gym that you work in. Because if you get too much of that, you know, I think then it can become very negative. And I'll tell you this too, very rarely can you go home to your wife or your husband and bash your boss, and at some point that they don't take that and they feel it somewhere, right? So if you constantly, your sounding board is at home and you're like, I hate my boss and I hate this and I hate that, the next time you go to their house to watch the Super Bowl, someone may say the wrong thing that gets you in trouble long term. So I would advise you not to always have the sounding board inside your own house. That's where the Rising Coaches Consulting, in my mind, comes into play. You have a safe place to share, you know, really concerns, frustrations, and be able to go, how do I better handle this? And I think because as consultants and mentors, we aren't emotionally attached to the situation. It also allows us to probably give really solid advice and maybe see some pitfalls before you fall off the ledge and lose your job or lose the relationship in your current program.
That's great. We really thank everybody, our mentors, for joining us today. Really gave us some great insight into mentorship for coaches. If you want to find out any more information, it's all on our website, risingcoachesconsulting.com. Really appreciate everybody attending today. Thank you very much.